Hey guys, Sean here, and welcome to the F1 Word and Midweek Live. And it's with a twist. We usually just do Q&A. Just giving away one of our pictures there straight away, which is a really good start to the stream. Yeah, usually just do Q&A, but there you go. We've got a Haas. We've got a Haas to look at today, which completely came out of nowhere and blew all of my plans out of the water, which is always the case. It does look like quite a nice car. We're going to get into a bit more detail in just a moment. Let's get out of the way. All that housework, if you like, rubbish, whatever you want to call it. You can follow me on social media, links in the description. As ever, you can support the stream through Streamlabs and, of course, through Patreon. We're going to jump straight into it because we've actually got quite a lot that we're going to be trying to talk about in this stream. And as ever, I am joined by Jonty. Good evening, Jonty.
Good evening, Sean and everyone. How are we?
Oh, not too bad. That came out of nowhere today, didn't it, that Haas? I was not expecting that at all.
Well, yeah, I was very much concentrating at work, and first I heard of it was when you told me.
Yeah, when I was like, Jonty, we have a problem. First impressions before we get all techie, what do you think of it? Is it an all right looking car, do you think?
In general, it looks very clean. I've got to say I'm not very impressed with the livery.
No.
It's subtle, but it could do with more, I think. But overall, yeah, the car looks... It's a step in the right direction for Haas. That's definitely the case.
I mean, a bit of backstory to it, I guess. They obviously gave up on 2017 quite early because they'd realised they'd kind of messed it up really for 2017. Full focus on 2018. I'll be honest, there are some bits on it that are really good, but I expected, given they've had probably 6 to 8 months longer than most teams, I expected something a bit more exciting, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, I think we were all expecting something a bit more exciting, but I'm going to look at it. I think they're trying to get some of the basics sorted, but there are a few little tricks in there that I've picked out.
Yeah, there's some just little intricate things, isn't there? That, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of torn. I don't expect, they haven't got the biggest budget on the grid, and they're not going to be, they're talking about competing with the midfield and maybe making it towards the front. That's not going to happen, if we're honest. That is the overhead of the car. By the way, I hate F1 cars from above because the floor looks ridiculous. It makes the car look so awful. But it's a nice, like you say, it's a nice clean car, nice clean lines, nice and tight at the back, if you like, for want of a better term as well. It does look better than last year's car, but like I said, that livery's a bit of a mess, really. But we've got some techie stuff. Which one should we start with? Let's have a look. I've got loads of pictures here, so I'll have to flick through them because they're not in any order. This was all done in quite a panic. We'll start off with those barge boards then, Jonty. What did you want to talk about on those ones first off?
Well, they look very clever. So looking at that top one, we haven't really seen stuff that's clearly directing air upwards. So yeah, that to me looks like they're trying to make a lot more use of the Y250 vortex, which usually comes down low and is controlled by the barge boards to send it round the Coke bottle shape. But with the rear end being so tight, they can really get a lot out of that. I think they're all trying to come up with inventive solutions to get around the loss of the T-wing, because as silly as they were, they did actually perform a function.
Yeah, absolutely. The T-wings will be a big loss. I think as well, Gunter Steiner and Gene Haas both said that with the added weight of the Halo, we'll come on to that in just a minute, it's made the aerodynamicist's job a hell of a lot harder this year because the centre of gravity, of course, is higher. The cars are heavier, which I don't know why they had to put that in a quote because it's quite obvious the car was going to be heavier. They've got a Halo strapped to it, but apparently it's been quite a hell of a job, and a lot of teams have been saying this to try and get that car or any car anywhere near aerodynamically sound because of all that added weight. So some of the stuff I see on this car, and I'm hoping we're going to see, I can't wait for the Red Bull, because if this is what Haas are doing, God knows what Red Bull are doing, but I don't know why, but I just find that whole side of the car with the barge boards, I don't know about the Rabbit, I don't know why that's there, but I just think it's a thing of beauty, and just every single little piece of that, it's doing something. Do you know what I mean? It boggles me. Mine boggles. It's the same with the front wing when we get to that. It's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. We saw some pretty complex stuff around the side pods and the barge boards last year, but it was all a bit higgledy-piggledy, and everything had its obvious function, but it was kind of like, oh, we need this to do this, so we'll slap it on, and we need this other bit to do this other thing, and we'll slap that on. There wasn't really an overall form to it. They're all together, they're all uniform, they're all doing something different, sending the air somewhere else. So they've kind of focused on it as a unit, if you like, as opposed to individual parts. Apart from the little bit at the bottom, which looks like some very clever slits in the floor to further get stuff to the diffuser. I could see the Haas being very good in a straight line.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Do you think a lot of this then, on looking at that picture there, is a lot of that to compensate for the T-wing, or is there something else going on there that maybe makes it even more ingenious?
Definitely some of it will be to compensate for the T-wing. Like I said, that one on the top with that upsweep, that's definitely trying to send some vortices towards the rear wing. Obviously, the T-wing kind of controlled the aero for the rear wing, so the rear wing itself could be more efficient with the air sort of made to behave before it gets there. So I'm thinking that that's the way it's going.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's
and there is more to that.
Yeah.
But while you mentioned the halo, I just said I'd thought this earlier, and I think I said it on the stream last week. I'm sure there is going to be lots of little aero bits to go on that halo, but because it's such a tight area for everyone, not knowing what to do, I don't think you'll see any of that until testing.
Yeah. I was just my amazing line drawing there. Can you tell that was done in about 7 seconds in a panic? It's not even curved, but yeah, there's nothing on that halo. And I kind of, my initial thought was, hang on a minute, have we been fobbed off here again? You know, we're going to make them look better. But on reflection, I completely agree with you. I think it's going to be so secretive. I know probably most of the solutions will be similar, but I think it's going to be such a secret thing, and they're going to try and keep it as close to their chest as possible. They don't want to reveal anything at this stage, because it could be something as stupid as a tiny little winglet that could actually decide which one of the out of the Ferrari and Mercedes is going to be running first in Australia, really, isn't it? It's that tight.
Yeah, and I was just reading lots and lots of comments saying, actually, it doesn't look that bad. And yeah, I didn't really notice it to begin with. I don't know if that's because I was trying to look for all the little bits.
Yeah.
But it certainly doesn't look so ugly as we thought it might during the testing phases last year.
I will say, and I have a feeling, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, it's me and my tinfoil hat again, but I have a feeling the FIA have probably had a word. I do think Haas have been very clever with their grey and black background to stick the car images onto the halo. Doesn't stick out quite so much, so it would surprise me if maybe we see all the teams in that kind of dark environment when they're launching their cars. But I'll be honest, I think I flicked through the photos 3 times before I even thought, oh, of course, yeah, halo. And it's not something we like. It's not something we're going to particularly love, but it's something we've talked about ad nauseum for about 6 months now. I'm sick of talking about it, and quite frankly, I wouldn't say I'm over it, but I've just accepted it's there now, and I'd even say almost used to it with all the pictures we've seen and mock-ups and Sean Bull's incredible designs, and then seeing it there, it's not the end of the world, is it really?
Yeah, there's more important things to focus on.
Yeah. Let's go to the rear wing then, whilst we were talking about T-wings, because I didn't spot this. I mean, that suspension, yeah, we'll come to that as well. But John T, you spotted this, and I completely missed it, but there you go.
Yeah, I mean, it might be hard for people to make out, but the top wishbones of the suspension is very sculpted for aero. I mean, you can see that quite clearly, and they're sitting pretty high above the bodywork as well. And then if you can just about make out some of the carbon fiber, there is a definite sort of low T-piece going all the way across there. I think Haas have been very clever. I don't know if that's going to be exhaust supports or what they're going to be calling the rear wing mounting or something, but I think they've done something very sneaky there. We'll probably see better in testing once it's out in daylight. But that could be very clever. And that's what those top elements of the barge boards are going to be directing air to.
Yeah, there was some talk over last week, wasn't there, that they might be able to exploit an area a lot lower than the original T-wing, because again, the FIA have left a loophole. But it's a clever play, and if that works, and I can imagine something like that on a Red Bull, but I could, I don't want to start bashing Ferrari, but they're the kind of team that won't have thought of that. But I think that's a really clever move. That suspension, though.
It looks great.
It does. It really does. so well. I know suspension's generally integrated well into the car anyway, but that just looks, I can't, just spot on. And I'm really impressed with little bits like that on the Haas. Just as an overall car, I just expected something a bit more exciting, but some little genius parts on there for sure.
Yeah, I think the excitement's in the details. Overall, it doesn't look too dramatic, but I guess we'll see when the times start happening.
Yeah, we're quite sad though, Jonty. We enjoy stuff like this. So
yeah.
We'll start off with your front wing and your blank space. Do you want that one first, or?
Yeah, can do. I mean, I should have probably found a picture of the 2017 car. As the year went on, a lot from Mercedes. I don't know if that was possibly from the narrow nose, but we saw a lot of intrusion into this area. From underneath the nose, various little wings and winglets starting to come out and out further, and Haas have kept it very clean. I mean, there is nothing in there at all. You know, there are some elements underneath the nose, but they're not coming out, and that is a big area for them to play with the aero, which is kind of highlighted in the other front wing picture.
It does. I'll pop that up now. It should come up for you in a second, mate. But it does. Obviously, we're going to talk about it in just a second, but it's probably this is the reason why this other area we've highlighted on the front wing. But it makes you wonder what else they found to leave all that space blank when, like you say, you see some of the things that were stuck in there towards the end of 2017.
Yeah, I mean, you look, they've gone, the ends of these wings look very aggressive on the inside, and their focus is generating what's known as the Y250 vortex. If you're not sure about that, go find, there's lots of videos on YouTube. If you can find it from someone who is an aerodynamicist, that'd be even better. But there was incidents last year where you could see it in wet races actually being formed, and that's like the primary focus of the ground, what ground effect there is from the floor, you know, and the diffuser. This will enable them to generate a very large one. And those side winglets on the barge boards, they'll be able to split it up, use it however they want. I think they've seen the benefit and tried to focus on that. I mean, they are very aggressive wings. They're all at different angles, so that should be generating a much larger vortex.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about the vortex, I'll be honest. Is that essentially just an artificial, well, not an artificial way, a natural way, if you like, of generating ground effects then? Is that kind of what it is?
Well, it just literally just turns the air into sort of cylindrical vortex, so they can direct it where they want it to go. And then it's, again, the pressures change, so it can do more work than just the bulk air hitting it. That's the whole point of all the tiny little winglets you'll see is all about generating vortices so that they can direct the air to where they want it.
Yeah. Learn something new every day. I had no idea about that sort of thing. So that's, I might do some reading up on that one later for other launches and whatnot. What else did we do, Johnsy? What else have we got?
I can't remember.
I can't. Kind of went out of nowhere.
Well,
I think that
elsewhere in the front wing, you can't really see it, but I've noticed the end fences are fairly simple, and they haven't really done a lot there. They've kept them pretty clean. I'm not sure what their aim is there, because the end fences do a big job of trying to get rid of the drag that the tyres will create. I don't know if they've just found a simple solution that works. That could be the case, or they haven't developed in that area as much.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell at this stage.
I think what we can say with almost certainty is this is not the finished car, not just on the halo. There'll be so much that comes to these cars. We just get such a basic shot to start with because it's so secretive. They don't want to give a thing away. But aside from the end plates, what I look at that front wing, it is so complicated. And that's what Haas have done on a much smaller budget. I'm a little bit concerned that we could end up somehow with fewer overtakes in 2018 and 2017 if we're already seeing front wings that complicated this year. I'm sure that's more complicated than last year's.
It certainly is for them. I mean, someone just noticed in the comments, you got the main plane's got a split in it, and then 4 additional. So that's 6 planes in the front wing. I mean, that is quite, very complex. But the planes themselves, apart from the inner edges, aren't too complex. They seem fairly uniform. So hopefully that'll work better in dirty air. Who knows?
Yeah, I think the problem is, as I look at the car there, by the way, shark fin only kind of like half gone. There you go. It's like what is it you call it? Is it a dorsal fin? Is what you call it? Because that's kind of what it is.
Well, there is still that element of it there. I was going to call it the dolphin because it's not quite as big as a shark.
I mean, I don't know. This will be the 3rd time I said it. I just expected more, but at the same time, if this is kind of where they're starting, you can just see the end plates there as well, just on that full side shot. But it does look like a clever little car in some areas. I just wanted a little bit more from them. The livery's dreadful. Personally, I'm not a big fan, but I think I've got the quote somewhere. If I remembered I did open it. Wow, that's incredible. Where have we got it? Gene Haas said, we eliminated a lot of the variables where we knew we were weak. We focused on what it is going to take, our car to be consistent and close that gap to the top teams. And then Gunter Steiner said about the weight on the Halo, which I've already mentioned, higher centre of gravity. They have got elements from last year's car on here as well as new stuff, so it was about evolution rather than revolution, which is actually what we said on Sunday. We expected that this year, but they've kind of confirmed out there in their quotes that it's not going to be, probably not going to see big changes from any team aside from maybe Alfa Sauber. It's all right. It's not a spectacular car to start with. It's the way they've done it out of completely nowhere. I was not ready.
Yeah, I mean, well, you can actually see on the side there, you can see the top wishbone and suspension sitting quite high. Now, excuse me. Now I actually just spot that. That's going to be holding the car from a high position. So that will, in effect, lower the centre of gravity. I don't know if that's a part of the design with that. And if it's a trend we're going to see across all of them. Or if it could well be similar to last year and it's just showing up more with the bland, boring white.
Yeah, could be. Perenni Davis says, I think in the side near the radiator intake, there is something new there. Just seeing if I can find a better picture. So we get a proper look at the... Is that something new, or is that just the colour? Is it just because the intake's black rather than white?
Yeah, what was difficult to make out from the side shot, you see it just below the wing mirror. There is a strip that comes across, which is sitting quite ahead of the side pod intake, which is sort of the upper support for those side wings. You see it sort of goes across underneath the wing mirror and then comes straight down.
Yeah.
I'm sat here pointing my finger at the screen as if people can see it.
Yeah, I can see what you're talking, yeah. We got a rear shot of the car. I think we have somewhere. I don't know why.
Another point, the camera mounting is the same place, which could be interesting.
Oh, the T-cam, yeah, it is, isn't it? Sorry, I've just kind of switched away from that picture now, but yeah, let's have a look at the back of the car. Yeah, that's going to make TV camera angles fun, isn't it? It's not. That's a shame. I'll be honest. I was really hoping they might have done something interesting. Just a quick look at the rear of the car. That's the one I was after. It's just taken me like 10 minutes to find it. Back end of that car I think looks very nice. Very, very nice.
Yeah, it does. And noticing on that, they've got serrated fins on the upper and leading edge of the wing. We usually see those sort of on the rear and towards the bottom. I don't know if they've found an interesting solution for something there.
Yeah. It's like you were saying earlier, I'm kind of looking forward to this getting out in a bit of daylight so we can have a proper look, because obviously these pictures are very cleverly lit so that there are certain things you can't see. So once it's out there and we get some pictures in testing, it's going to be absolutely fascinating. But it really does... it's those barge boards. I'm going to go back to them. I said to you, Jonty, I've fallen a little bit in love with them, and if that's what they've come up with, then I can't wait to see the Red Bull on Monday. For those asking about Williams, interestingly enough, it is rumoured today they will not launch the car tomorrow, and that you will just get a very quick picture and a first look. However, their first look last year was as good as a car reveal, and that was basically what it was. So that is the rumour going around. It's not unlike Williams to change plans like that last minute, but hopefully we'll get a Williams tomorrow, and then I believe it's Red Bull Monday, Renault and Sauber Tuesday, and then Mercedes and Ferrari on Thursday, with McLaren on Friday, I believe, next week. So they're all coming thick and fat. At least they've planned them, though, and won't catch us quite so off guard. Is there anything else you wanted to add on the Haas, Johnsy?
Not really, just saying you keep focusing on the barge boards because they do look fantastic. That is one of the big areas of development that we had last year. Is why Ferrari was so strong early on. It took other teams a while to catch up with the clever solution they'd come to. Now that everyone's had a full year and then a further winter break working on it, I think we could see some very bizarre things coming.
Yeah, a couple in chat just pointing out it's not the real car. It is a render of the car. It's not the real one. That's a well-hidden secret at the moment. But generally now when we get a car launch, this more often than not is what we get, certainly from the back end of the grid or that back end of the midfield. So, but yeah, nothing over. What about Haas's expectations for the year then? They're talking about challenging the midfield. I think their best hope probably is to try and pick off a Williams, I would say.
Yeah, depending on how Honda fare, I think it's probably going to be a 3 or 4-way scrap down at the back. The Haas, Toro Rosso, Sauber, possibly with the Williams.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see Haas do well because they're one of the few. Well, yeah, only 2 cars really with the team owner's name on it. You've got Williams. I know you've got Sauber, but obviously Peter Sauber's nothing to do with that anymore. But kind of like a proper independent outfit. It'd be good for America to see a good team do well. But yeah, I think I can see them beating Toro Rosso, if I'm honest. I think Alfa Sauber, that all depends on what money Ferrari put in. And I think unless Williams pull the finger out the backside this year, which they haven't done for the last couple of years, they could be in trouble. But I think we'll talk about Williams very quickly before we go into Q&A or anything like that. But we've been quite critical of Williams through the winter and how they've been over the last couple of years. But we're also quite excited, aren't we, Jonty, because of that Paddy Lowe influence on the car. Is it going to be this year they can make that step forward, or are we talking 2021 before they can even really start to look at climbing the grid?
No, I think this year could produce a few surprises. Hopefully, Paddy's been able to get involved at the chassis design level, because as William said, they screwed it up from the beginning, and ended up pretty much nowhere. Paddy Lowe's very good around the mechanical grip side. He's very clever around suspension. So, I mean, he's good with that everywhere, but he was very, very good with suspension in other teams. So maybe if we can get that basic down. They didn't really go into detail about what they got wrong last year. So, yeah. They didn't really highlight whether it was the mechanical side, the aero, what. They just said they got the chassis wrong, which doesn't really tell us a lot.
No. Maniac 618 says, depends if Paddy Lowe stole any blueprints from his former team. That'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? Another Spygate. Let's have one of them. But the thing is, they've got the best engine. That's what infuriates me about Williams. They've got the best engine. They've got the same engine as Force India. Force India have a smaller budget, and look at what Force India are doing with that money.
Yeah.
Williams should be there. They should be 4th place. But if F1 was one on budgets, then Ferrari would be world champions every year non-stop. So, you know, it's what you do with that money, and they've just not.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they do better, but I can kind of half see it being similar to 2017, where they weren't at the back. They weren't in the midfield. They weren't in the front. They were just kind of trundling around by themselves.
Yeah, they're quite an infuriating team, aren't they, Williams? Or I certainly find them.
And always have been.
Yeah. I watched the I watched the McLaren documentary over the weekend, and last night I watched the Williams film. Brilliant. Have you seen that, Jonty?
I haven't yet.
Oh, it's a must see if you're an F1. It's brilliant. It's such an insight into, just even to the point where I always knew Nigel Mansell was a bit of an awkward sod, but apparently he was really, really awkward with Williams. So it's proper good insight to it, and obviously Sir Frank's accident and whatnot. So yeah, maybe I'm going in with a little bit of bias today. Want to see them, climbing the grid again, but yeah, I mean we'll see. It's going to be an interesting one. Just go through very quickly. And confirm the launches we know. I've just done that, I know, but for those that are just joining that are interested, Williams are apparently launching tomorrow, but possibly not. We don't know about that one just yet. Red Bull launch on Monday. No times for these either. They just tell you they're launching on a day and then spring a surprise when you've, gone to get your dinner or something. Renault and Sauber launch on Tuesday the 20th. I believe it's Tuesday the 20th. 22nd is Mercedes and Ferrari launching on the same day, which is going to be one hell of a day. I hope you're ready for that one, Jonty. And then we've got McLaren on the 23rd, which is Friday. And then as far as I know, with Toro Rosso launched on the 26th, everybody else will launch in Barcelona. Which one are you really looking forward to then, Jonty?
Red Bull as always, just to see what madness Adrian Newey's come up with. Even though last year was kind of a letdown, he didn't really do anything crazy, apart from the odd nose. But I've got to say Force India. I just want to see what the livery is. Livery.
Livia.
Making up words.
I'll let you off, mate. You've had a rough week, so we'll leave it there. We'll jump away from all of this then, start getting your questions into chat, and we will go into Q&A, which is what we do in midweek. But obviously during launch season, then we're going to have to talk about other things as well. We'll have you covered here as much as we can on the F1 word for launches and things. Yeah, there is a Williams film. I downloaded it on Sky, but I think it's available, well, not for free, but I think it's available on Netflix as well. So, yeah. Sebastian Vettel, number 5, says it will be Ferrari versus Merc, but this year Ferrari will triumph. I don't know about constructors, but I've already put my neck on the line by saying I think Vettel will win the World Championship. So, yeah. What do you think, John? Say Ferrari resurgent this year, bounce back?
Oh, yeah. I think there will have been a lot of whips cracking and butts kicking back at Maranello.
Yeah. I can imagine the meeting that happened after the season. Jordi says, will the teams try to hide the halo as much as possible after the trouble it caused? We're hoping so, but looking at that, even if you stick a wing on that, it's not going to look brilliant, is it?
No. I mean, there is one or two little things they could do. I'm not going to let on what they are because I'm not entirely sure the teams have thought of it.
No.
And I don't even know why I thought of it. But it is going to be, even though there's only 5 millimeters to play with, thank you, Rayson. I forgot what the amount was. There is still interesting things they could do. I mean, we saw McLaren trying a little wing across the top, and they can try winglets on the sides. It could be interesting, but I don't think they'll try to hide it because you can't.
No, taking it off would do a good job, but yeah, let's not get back into that debate. Mohak Varma, do you see Alfa Sauber having something similar to the 2017 Ferrari chassis? I'd never even thought about that, to be honest. Technically B teams and selling chassis and whatnot to other teams is banned, but Toro Rosso did it for quite a while with Red Bull, so there's no reason why Ferrari might not send a chassis Sauber's way or an adaptation of one. It's a good question, actually, that one.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
Definitely one to look out for. I might have to make sure I've got some Ferrari picks ready for the Sauber launch. Have a really good look through them. Bailey Rock 2, what potential teams do you think will join in upcoming years? Porsche, possibly. Did that Chinese team, that all just died out, didn't it? Because that was supposed to be a big Chinese team coming in and all the money in the world, and that just never...
Yeah, I'm not sure why that stopped. I actually stopped reading about it when we kept reading the same thing every week. But it might be worth looking at, because as far as I know, it didn't sort of completely come out as a no.
Yeah.
They hit some difficulties. Probably with Bernie.
Yeah. It's definitely worth a read. I might have a look at that later. Yordi again, if Ferrari fail this year to get any title, will that be the first decade Ferrari hasn't won any F1 title? No. I was going to think about that long and hard then, but it's not. 90s. Did they win in the 80s? Yes. They must have won in the 80s, because Schumacher's world title in 2000 was their first for 21 years, I believe, or something like that. So they didn't win in the 90s. They did in the 2000s. Yeah. That's got me thinking now.
I haven't got the numbers up in front of me.
No, I'm sure they won one in the 80s, because I think about 21 years since Schumacher did it. So, or maybe not. I don't know. Well, Google. That's the only answer I can come with that one. Do you think Infinity will come into F1? Asked Marshall and Snowden Vids. I think they're sponsors of Renault, aren't they? Seem to think. Yeah, they are sponsors of Renault, so I can't see them coming in as a team. Haas already launched their 2018 car. Yes, they have. We did some tech stuff on it. We'll do a proper tech video when we get some decent pictures of it through testing. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chris Davis, for pointing out the massive flaw in my maths there. 2000 minus 21 is 1979, Jonty. There you go.
No, I've just looked it up. It will be, if they don't get anything by 2019, it will be the first decade where they haven't won a championship of some form.
Of course, they won the Constructors in 99, didn't they?
Yep.
Yeah. So there you go. Sorry, I'm baffled by how terrible my maths is. Mercedes will make a similar leap just like in 2014, says Victor Bangle. If they've hit the 1,000 horsepower, they're going to dominate. Obviously, then you've got to have the reliability with the 1,000 horsepower anyway, but I think that's posturing, to be honest.
No, I've got a feeling it'll be Red Bull and McLaren making a big jump, because the engines aren't changing really this year, and it's engine changes which have given Mercedes the big boosts. When the aero changes come around, it's whoever's got Adrian Newey, basically.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You look at Adrian Newey, 97, 96, 97, 98, 99, and just try to think back to all his... He just seems to get a team, be given a blank piece of paper, draws an incredible car, and they just dominate. Is he the greatest engineer of all time, do you think? Just throw that one in there.
Second.
Colin Chapman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's only in my opinion, though.
Yeah. No, he just pushed the boundaries, didn't he, Colin Chapman? He just wanted to make cars lighter and lighter and lighter, and some of the stuff he came up with. Were they the first... I think we've asked this before, actually. They were the first team ever to have a fully integrated chassis and engine, weren't they? Chassis built around the engine.
Oh, good name, test my memory.
That's going back quite a bit, but yeah, well before my time.
Yeah, quite possible.
Yeah, I'm sure they were something like that. Ricky Box, cats or dogs? Dogs for me. Can't stand cats. That's probably get me in trouble, but yeah.
Both.
Hallam899 Live says first time watching, which is the third stream in a row that he said first time watching in. Just saying. Will Alonso win a race this year? Asks big Nintendo fan. Go on, John, so you can have this one.
Just for a crazy, silly prediction, I've already said Alonso. No, I said Alonso on pole for Australia, didn't I? But I've got a feeling he could win a race. He could definitely pull out one of the twisty tracks. Monaco, Hungary, Singapore.
Yeah, if you look at his performance in Hungary last year, any track that's going to be aero dependent rather than power dependent, Red Bulls and McLarens are going to do very well at. It's just whether McLaren can actually finally merge a good chassis with a good engine for the first time in about a decade, because they seem to have either a good engine and a terrible chassis or a good chassis and a terrible engine, so they need to make sure they get that right. Alonso to win in Monaco. I'm going to go with that because he's, I shouldn't say things like that. Yeah. Gibbo0244 asks, how many different race winners do you expect this year? Why do I ask these questions when I haven't thought about them? I expect Hamilton to win. Vettel, Bottas. I'm going to stick Raikkonen in there. If we get a crazy race like Baku, he keeps it clean and the pressure's on and he can actually deliver. Verstappen will. Alonso. I'm going to go 7. Throw Ricciardo in there as well. I'm going to go 7 different winners this year.
I'm going to go with 8, just because I'm going to add Ocon in there.
An Ocon win? Oh. Where's that list of Jonty predictions? That's, Force India good enough. Crazy race like Baku, like we keep saying. I mean, you could argue that Force India probably should have won that one. But then, safety car wouldn't have come out if they hadn't collided, I guess. But it's an I'm gonna stick with 7. There was somebody in the chat earlier that mentioned apparently odds on Charles Leclerc winning the race are 1,000 to 1, and they're considering a punt. Who knows? Monaco 96 situation. Leclerc keeps it clean. Who knows?
Yeah.
Will we see a new race winner to stretch onto that? Asked Ben Robinson. I think you just said Ocon, obviously, Jonty. Possibly Van Dorn, if that McLaren's as good as they are already starting to talk it up to be, which is a bit of a concern.
It could be.
Van Dorn or Ocon, probably most likely. Maybe Perez again. You know, if we're saying Ocon, if the car's spot on, yeah. Ricky Box, favourite joke to do with F1. I don't know why I asked that because I don't actually know. Probably just goodbye 2017, Halo 2018, but that's more of a pun than it is a joke, to be honest. Honda, quite a good joke.
Oh, that's a bit mean. True, but mean.
Yeah. A few saying Honda already. Sorry, I'll get a little bit sidetracked with some... Cassetti 55, will Honda be around in 2021 and will they have a competitive engine then? I think that's their most likely chance to make a jump towards the front of the field in 2021, but I am concerned more for the sport in terms of engine manufacturers. I can see if Honda are not improving by then, I can see them just leaving because Honda are not afraid to just shut up and go. Yeah, I think 2021 is their best shot, but they're going to have to start doing something soon.
Yeah, and also there's always that chance that by 2021 Toro Rosso doesn't exist and the Honda team does.
Yeah, true. A question I've just spotted. Okay, right. Sorry. Do you think Toro Rosso will ever beat Red Bull? Asks Ben Robinson. In 2008, Toro Rosso did beat Red Bull.
Yep.
I'd completely forgotten about that till I went to do my Sebastian Vettel video and was like, hang on a second. Because obviously the win helped massively, but they beat them back then. Will they do it again? Not as Toro Rosso, maybe as Honda. But I don't know, Jonathan, can you see them beating them again, realistically?
Not for a while. Possibly 2021 onwards, if they properly split from Red Bull and become a Honda team. It might happen.
Praveen Sony, who is capable of doing a Palmer this year? Well,
I don't want to say the same person I always do because I feel like I'm being horrible to him, but everyone would probably agree. Magnussen.
Yeah, That was the first name that came to mind. Again, he's one of those drivers. There's a couple on the grid who are not particularly brilliant F1 drivers, but are really nice and actually quite funny. And I quite like the guy. I'm not a big fan of the way he drives, but you know, I would have gone K-Mag. Definitely. Maybe Sirotkin, but they're never going to ditch him. He might have a poor season, but they're not going to ditch him.
Yeah.
Dave Trotter, so how pro Hamilton is the Sky Sports F1 crew? Thanks to ESPN, we are now stuck with Sky Sports coverage. I just don't want to watch a Hamilton British love fest for 2 hours. I apologise in advance for Crofty, by the way. I would like to say that on behalf of all Sky Sports F1 fans and followers. I apologise for Crofty because you are going to hate him within about 7 minutes. I don't think they're particularly pro Hamilton. I think if Jenson Button were winning, they'd be pro Button. I think there is some British bias there, or British support, however you want to put it. But we were talking about this on Sunday, weren't we, John T, in the live stream, about how biased British media can be against foreign drivers, particularly Michael Schumacher back in the day. So it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, but there is an element of the Sky Sports crew who, similar to us in a way, do sort of like to root for the underdogs a bit.
Yeah.
Those who are pulling out surprise results do get a lot of love. So maybe that balances it out.
Francesco asks...
Just quickly. Just spotted what Games Donovan said. It does mean you'll get Ted Kravitz, who is the best thing about Sky Sports.
Yeah, good point. Ted, he's cringy as hell. Cheesy as anything you like, but he knows what he's talking about and he's brilliant. So, I was going to say, Francesco says, am I the only one who sees Renault at the top in 2 or 3 years? I don't know. I think if they can nail that engine, you know, the law of diminishing returns for Mercedes and Ferrari means that everyone's more likely to catch them than they are to run away. There's no reason why they couldn't. I'm a bit concerned that we are heading towards a formula that is engines solely, and we end up with Ferrari, Mercedes, Renault, and Honda as your top 4 teams, because the independent teams are so important to Formula One and such a big part of history back to the days of the old garage Easters, you know. So I'm concerned that's the way we're going, but I can see Renault doing it. You know, if Red Bull can do what they do with the Renault engine, there's no reason why the works team, if they nail the chassis, can't be right up there. So, yeah.
Yeah, they really could be. Again, it's all about the engine this year. This is where they find out if they go in the right direction. If they have, then they could be up there. If they haven't, then it's all over till 2021 because they haven't got time.
Yeah. Games Donovan, so are you saying that ESPN is not going to have their own announcers in the States, or are they just taking Sky Stream? I read it as they weren't. I don't think they've got Sky all season. I thought it was at specific races. Don't quote me on that.
No, I was 100%. Thinking how I thought it might be how they used to have it during the ITV days, where they would have their own sort of program presentation team, and then as soon as the race kicked in, you had the British commentary. If that's the case, then you're onto a winner.
Yeah. I'd agree with that. Yeah. Ryan Harris, do you think Hamilton would ever return to McLaren? Go on, you go first, John.
Not without Ron Dennis there.
I think that's one of the few things stopping him. If that Renault engine's okay, I said it a few times. I've always had a little feeling that Hamilton would like to have finished his career at McLaren, tie it all off nicely. You know, obviously that was Senna's team, or Senna race there, his absolute hero. I think he's got unfinished business there. But like you say, John T, without Ron Dennis, I don't see it happening. I don't know. I think he could, but even though he says he doesn't want to match Schumacher 7 World Championships, why would you leave a team that is guaranteed to win and risk it all for your last couple of seasons? Surely everybody wants to go out in the best car. You don't want to go out with a whimper. So as much as I would like to, because I just like things neatly tied off. So as much as I would kind of like that, I don't think he will. to be honest.
No, I wanted Button to fill the spot at Williams to round it off nicely, but that didn't happen.
Who has the worst driver lineup in 2018? Asks Silver Chucks. Do we have to say it again?
It's probably Williams. However, Toro Rosso is largely untested.
Yeah.
So we can't say for certain.
A few saying Williams. Some saying Haas, Sauber. Nah. They might have one of the... Yeah. But they've got a Charles Leclerc, so I don't think they're the worst. Haas says ST. See, I don't think Grosjean's that bad. I really don't. I think he's a different driver to the one that we all remember him as at Spa that year. Nearly killing Fernando Alonso. But I don't know. I'm going to have to say Williams, but I kind of want to lay off him a bit. But at the same time, what can you say? When you've got a team whose highlights reel for 2017 was 59 seconds of YouTube video, Stroll's podium in Baku, his front row in a wet Monza, and Felipe Massa retiring, it's not really great, is it?
No. Ooh.
HD Dan 4438 says, can't believe you haven't said Hulkenberg's name all stream. There you go. Podium in 2018 for Hulkenberg?
Oh, I hope so. There's lots of things I hope. Someone, Stevenson Rocket just said, will Bathurst ever be an F1 track? Oh, well, I hope so, but I don't think it will.
Chris Davis, depressing to be a Williams mechanic with that kind of highlight. F1 racer, I hope that Bottas would win. I'd like to see Bottas do well this year.
Emmanuel Beast, who will get a race ban this year? Someone finally getting the 12 points. I'd say Perez.
Yeah. I haven't got the numbers in front of me. I will make sure I've got those for any pre-season previews we do. But pre-season previews, sorry. Yeah, weird term. Season previews, that's what I was trying to say. There we go. Season previews. Yeah, which will be stream form and will be video form. There'll be a mix of them because just the way we're going to do them. But I haven't actually spoken to you about that yet, Jonty, but we'll talk about that later, I'm sure. Planning stuff live on air. There you go. Yeah. I'll go Magnussen then. Why not?
Yeah, it's possible.
Poochie Head, how was your Valentine's Day, lads? Well, I am live to you guys on Valentine's Day, so I'll let you draw your own conclusions from that one. I actually spent the day with my sister, my niece, and my nephew, so yeah, it was all right. I had a nice day.
Yeah, don't leave that much of a pause after you say sister. I spent mine at work.
MC Claw Larson, I'm moving on from that. Just leave that. Just leave it. MC Claw Larson says, who has the best fans according to Lewis?
Everywhere. Yeah, everywhere. The whole world.
To be fair to Lewis though on that, I'm not jumping to his defence as I sit here in a Mercedes t-shirt like a proper little fanboy. But I said that myself then. But in his defence a little bit, what's he supposed to say on the podium? You're all crap, go home. You know. What I mean, yeah, he could say nothing, but he can't exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine at the end of Circuit of the Americas when he says, "Oh, fans, you've been great, but you weren't quite as good as Mexico."
Ooh.
Could you imagine what would happen?
Oh dear. Sean is from the Alabama part of the UK, sister. Witty. Well done, racing. We've just said we think Alonso will do well at any of the tight, twisty aero circuits. I've predicted Monaco for that one for his win. If all the top teams had the same engine, who would win? Asks Sarah Lee. Red Bull.
Yeah, without a doubt. McLaren second.
Yeah. Dave Trotter says, too bad Charles Leclerc was shut out of a midfield team drive this season. I hope that his talent isn't wasted like Heidfeld and Hulkenberg. They started with the wrong teams, hurt their careers. See, I understand what you're saying there, but I always like a young driver to cut their teeth at the back of the grid. Kind of learn what the sport's about, no real pressure on them, and you tend to see the best. But, as he said there are drivers, Heidfeld, Hulkenberg, who have never really reached that potential, but is it less about the team and more about timing, John T?
Timing is a big part of it. But like you, I like to see new drivers come in to a lesser team to sort of work their way up based on what they can do with lesser equipment. Instead of just jumping in the fastest thing and saying, look, I want to race. Well, yeah, so would half the rest of the field.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Raikkonen and Massa started at Sauber and Ricciardo started at HRT, of all teams. Yep, he did.
Also started at Minardi.
Yep, Mark Webber. I know he's not a world champion, but he started at Minardi. Just trying to think now. That's got me thinking.
Schumacher started for Jordan.
Toro Rosso. Yeah, Schumacher, Jordan. Yep. Senna, Tolman, if we go a bit further back. Yeah. I just think it's the best way for them to learn. But at the end of the day, if they're quick enough, then and they're good enough, get them in a top team, absolutely. But I just like to see drivers learn their trade rather than just get thrown in at the deep end. Dave Trotter again, Sauber the next Minardi. They're the current Minardi, I guess, technically, aren't they? Because they're down the back.
Yeah, I hope they do go like become the next Minardi though, because they always had a lot of support when they pulled out those surprise results.
Sorry. Which is your favourite circuit on the calendar? Asks Josh Greaves. I bored again.
Canada. Sorry, Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve.
Yeah. I quite like Albert Park. I quite like it, but that's usually because it's the saviour of my winter. Usually at that point, draws me out of my boredom. Yeah, I do like. Yeah, it's a good circuit. Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve. I'm just trying to think now. Old Hockenheim, if we could have Old Hockenheim back. Obviously, we're going back there this year, but that would be great. But
yeah, you usually say Spa.
I do, but I'm trying to think of something a bit different. But I don't. Yeah, it has to be Spa, doesn't it? It's going to have to be. I haven't got much of a choice. The Stevenson Rocket. I really hate Yas Marina. I can promise you, you are not alone. You are not alone. Beautiful facilities, looks absolutely stunning. Terrible track, crap racing.
No, I don't think anyone watching right now can like Yas Marina. I really hope they don't.
I'm waiting now for chat to prove us wrong. Jack asks, Sean, what was your opinion on Korea International Circuit? I loved it. I loved it. Absolutely loved that track. Gave us some pretty good races, but middle of nowhere, no infrastructure. Fans weren't overly interested. It was just never going to survive, which is a shame.
Yeah, and the weather.
Yeah.
It was either blazing sunshine or full-on torrential monsoon.
Jurassic Emu, will Grosjean complain about the Haas's brakes? Probably. And if he doesn't complain about that, I'm sure he'll find something else to complain about. Joe Gallagher says, I love Yawn Marina.
Oh, that's his new name.
Rico, would you replace Monza with Zandvoort? No, but I would get Zandvoort on the calendar pretty quickly.
I'd replace Monaco with it.
You're very anti-Monaco this last couple of weeks, Johnson. I'm going to be honest.
Because the glitz, glamour, and history is kind of its get-out-of-jail-free card.
Yeah.
It has the exact same problem that Yas Marina does, and yet it gets away with it, which is a little bit unfair.
Bob Roberts, one of my new favourite people. Imola back, 1,000,000%. Monza or Imola, both. Zach Mullen, if I was to say that.
Yeah.
Dave Trotter, with Montreal having a new mayor, I would worry about the future of the Canadian Grand Prix. I've not heard anything about that.
No, me neither. I'll have to read into that one.
But if you could, Zach, why Zach? Why only one? If you could only have one, Monza or Imola. Oh, that's really mean. Give me a minute, I'll think about it.
They're not that far apart. Can we join them together?
Mimola. Sorry, that was terrible. Drivers will never get rid of Monaco. I think they have a big say on that one. I agree with that, Star Fox, completely. Apparently Tunisia is planning on building an F1 track next to a beach, says Jack. Be different, wouldn't it?
I've not read about that.
Has he got any other questions cropping up? London GP asks Alexandra. I can't see it. I keep saying it, but when we were at F1 Live London, they shut off a few roads. The place was chaos. The whole city was absolute chaos. Could you imagine? Because what is it, Monaco? Is it 2 or 3 months before the race and 2 or 3 months after the race that they're messing about? Yeah, you couldn't do that in London. It's just not going to work.
No, because it's British roads. You see, American cities, they could do that because of the way they're laid out. They can just shut one bit, send people the other way. You try that in London, you end up taking a 30-mile detour.
True. It's completely true. I've just seen a really good one from Jonathan Fox. Which underdog driver are you hoping impresses this season? Sirotkin, Van Dorn, Stroll, Ericsson, Raikkonen, etc. I'd like to see Raikkonen do well. I think he's had enough, but probably Leclerc.
I do genuinely want Sirotkin and Stroll to show that they've earned their place there. I'm not sure they will. And like you, I want Mike Raikkonen to do well because he's just too much fun to lose, but I'm not sure he would.
Chris Davis, which young driver do you think has the ability to pull a Senna or Shuey and take a lower tier car and get a surprise win? I'd have to go Leclerc again. Maybe Stroll.
I'd say either of the Force Indias, but with the way they've been constantly improving, I don't think it will be that much of a surprise.
Yeah. What about one of the Renault boys, Sainz or Hulkenberg?
Yeah, I've just seen that in the chat as well. Sainz is a good shout. I think Sainz has got more chance of doing it than Hulkenberg.
Yeah. Who knows? You just need a Baku, don't you? Kind of race, or a Monaco 96, a Belgium 98, and you're going to get a surprise winner. But
yeah.
Going on from Carlos Sainz, do you think Carlos Sainz will win a world title? If you do, when? 2021 will be his earliest shot, I think. But
yeah, but he's certainly got the chance. Yeah, he has got the speed to do it.
Yeah, I just can't see Renault realistically getting a car together before then, really. I'd like to see them back up there, but at the same time, I'd love to see a number of teams up there. I dream of the day that we get 10 teams fighting for a world championship, but I know that's never going to happen. But, you know, that would be great. Orange BK King? I don't know. What is the most surprising thing about the new Haas 2018 car? That it's not more surprising, I would say.
No, just the barge boards and the trick rear suspension. Well, won't call it that. They've outlawed trick suspension.
Yeah.
But there's something very clever going on there.
Joy 101, which Grand Prix, if you could go, would you go to? To kind of go against what Jonty said in terms of everything, Monaco would be very nice, just for everything around it. But if we're talking a full weekend of action, probably Spa.
I think I'd like to go to Monza. Just the atmosphere.
Great atmosphere, yeah.
The true Tifosi is something that would be special to experience, I think.
Craig Torley, what do you think of Baku? I think it's been a great addition. I think it saved its own reputation last year, didn't it? I love that last sector. It's pretty good.
The drivers saved it. Saved the reputation for it. Yeah, I mean, I do like the third sector. The way it's just so crazy banzai flat out. But this year, if we get another crazy race, then that's what we can expect all the time. But I'm not sure it will be.
No. I'd say the jury's probably out on it. I think if we get a good one this year, you could probably say it's been a good addition. But if it goes back to how it was 2016, then no. Ryan Harris, then, what was your favourite driver when you first watched F1? Senna, and then Schumacher.
When I first watched, it was Mansell because it was the first thing I saw.
Yeah,
and I'll make no bones about it because he was British, but I was only 6 years old at the time. So
I'll take a couple more then. I'm just going to keep an eye and see if I can spot a good one to really, really finish on. They've all been great questions again. You guys really are the best fans in the world. Just because I was kind of headed down that road anyway. Why not?
Hashtag blessed.
Oh, Jonty, no. I got in trouble with Ryan last week for saying that, so let's not. What was the first race you watched on TV? Asks Jurassic Emu. For me, it was South Africa 1992.
Yeah, mine's the same as the previous question. Australian at 86. Watching that tyre explode and him keep the car in a straight line when probably 17 of the 20 drivers now would lose it.
Star Fox, is the Indy screen better than the Halo? In terms of looks, yes. In terms of the complete thing, no. And that's going to be a controversial opinion, I know. But as good as it looks, and it does look better, there is a huge gaping hole. I know the Halo has one, but the aero screen's even bigger in IndyCar, where the debris that killed Justin Wilson would probably still hit a driver on the head. I'm not saying it wouldn't with the Halo, but the hole's even bigger above the aero screen, and it doesn't look anywhere near as structurally sound. I'm hoping F1 can find a way to stick the two together and come up with something incredible, but I think at the moment, in terms of safety and safety alone, the Halo is the right way to go. But as they said last week, was it Mercedes said this is just the first in a long line of head protection, so just don't worry about it. It will disappear and we will get something better, hopefully.
Yeah. The problem with the Indy screen, had that been on the car that Henry Surtees was driving, wouldn't have saved him. A Halo would.
Yeah. And Thunder Splitter, F1 closed cockpits in the future. You're not so sure, are you, Jonty, on that one? Closed cockpits.
I'm really not sure either way. It could happen, but I think there'll be too much outcry from the fans and the drivers.
Yeah, I think it's more likely we'll get the shield that we looked at a couple of weeks ago. The better looking aero screen, basically. I think we'll get something similar to that. The problem is, though, of course, with which I forgot to say there to Star Fox's question, with the aero screen, is it works perfectly for Indy because they don't race in the wet. F1 does,
True.
And that's a big problem.
Yeah.
So, right, I'm literally going to take two more because we're already running over an hour. We're really terrible at this timekeeping, Jonty.
Yeah.
It's the questions, though, isn't it? They're usually pretty decent. So, Yeah, so look for 2 more. Jurassic Emu, which driver, Stroll, Van Dorn, or Ocon? We've kind of answered this actually, but we'll do it anyway. We'll win a race first. I think Ocon. I think I'd agree with you on that.
Yeah. Unless Renault have done something truly spectacular and put McLaren right at the front.
Yeah. We'll answer that from Jack, actually. Opinions on Port Imperial Circuit. Honestly, I haven't got a clue. I don't know if you have, Jonty. I've not heard anything about it.
Yeah, it was one that was in the line to host the Grand Prix of America quite a while ago, like 2010, 2011, something like that. It was going to be relatively long, but fairly simple, quite tilkerish, with 90-degree corners and a hairpin. So, I'm just looking. Actually, it was designed by Herman Tilke. There's your problem. Again, being largely a street circuit, it's just not going to work. Well, it's going to work. It just won't be fun.
I will come to one more question in a minute. I just want to answer this one from Hallam899 Live. Have you ever cried when watching F1 Imola 1994?
Yep.
Yeah. I'm not ashamed to say that either. People would say I should be, but I'm not. 1994 Imola.
Twice.
Yeah. Aside from that, though, I'll be honest, Japanese Grand Prix 2000. Massive Schumacher fan. Made my year, that did.
Yeah.
I cried Singapore 2007. So that's crazy. Yeah, 17, sorry, yeah. 2007. Yeah, good point, Chaz. Yeah, Massa. Yeah. When his son came over the radio. Oh, don't. That was emotional.
Yeah. And I think a lot of Brazilian fans did in 2008.
Yeah. He held himself well in 2008, didn't he? Really, with great dignity on that, I will say.
Yeah.
I was looking for one really awesome question to finish on. I said some great ones again tonight. You spotted one, John, to just shout it out.
I have spotted one, but I'm trying to think of an answer.
All right. See, at least you do that. I just ask the question and then go, I don't know. Oh, yeah, 2016. Yeah, sorry, Charles, when he walked back to the pits in the rain. Yeah. Yeah. Did you cry when Maldonado won? No, I'll be honest. Will Kubica come back to F1? Jurassic Emu? I just don't see it. I'll be honest. I'd like him to, but I don't see it. I think the only team that were likely to take a gamble was Williams, and even they didn't. So I know there was money involved, but who knows? Who knows? Would be a great story. Erudito, what would you like to feature in a documentary next? Or which team, would you like to feature in a documentary next? I'd love to get behind the scenes of Ferrari. All access, but no, that'll never happen.
If it's a historical documentary, Lotus.
Yeah, that'd be good. Few bits are in Formula E, maybe. Alexandra Pereira, Hamilton retire. Jonty thinks end of 2018. You've got a gut feeling on that one, haven't you, Jonty?
Yeah.
I think 2020 for Hamilton. So, Orbs. Oh, there you go. Who will finish higher, Leclerc or Sirotkin?
Ooh. I think Sirotkin will, but I want Leclerc to.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, you look at the cars, it'd be hard not to say Sirotkin, but if Leclerc brings all that pace with him, maybe, but I think it would be Sirotkin. But there's not going to be a lot in it. I will say that. There's not been a lot in it. I think James Donovan, Ricardo at Renault. I'm telling you, I've got a feeling. I'll be honest, a feeling about that. I don't know why. Just, yeah. If Hulkenberg doesn't do it this year, Sainz and Ricardo at... Yeah. We'll leave it at that. I can see, I think... what's Red Bull? Oh, yeah. I get this a lot in the comments, actually, to videos. Red Bull, have they got Aston Martin engines? Aston Martin is just a title sponsor for this year. But the question there from First Name, what's Red Bull's engine going to be? Is it Honda or Aston Martin? Tag Heuer, so Renault this year. We think Honda next year, don't we, Jonty?
Yeah.
I just don't see Aston Martin building an engine. I think Racing says it a lot in Discord. They've not got the money, and maybe there is something in the Aston Martin Cosworth talk, but...
Well, you have to think a lot of them... Am I right in thinking a lot of their road car engines are AMG? Or built elsewhere?
Yeah, they are. I think they are built elsewhere. And I couldn't honestly say about AMG.
Probably something rebadged. Relevant to this year, Jack Halbernath, Manicor or Paul Ricard. This is where we differ.
It is.
I hate Manicor.
I feel a little bit more justified in my decision to like Manicor, given that Ryan said last week that he quite liked Manicor as well, rather than Paul Ricard or Ricard. But yeah, we differ.
Yeah, well, that was one of my predictions for this year. That will be the best race.
Yeah. I just love the rundown to the hairpin at Manicor, that first little sequence of corners. I don't like the last sector. That last chicane's horrific. But I don't know. I don't know if it's a nostalgia thing, maybe. Perhaps it was there in the 90s, wasn't it, as sort of my era. So, but I always quite like that track. Kimi always went well there as well. So, yeah, I think we'll leave it at that then. Thank you, Jonty, for not just coming onto the stream, but for your help in leading up to the stream, because we were not ready for that.
Yeah, I was frantically looking at pictures, eating my tea.
I really do appreciate it, mate, and I will talk to you in just a few minutes in Discord. But thank you again, mate.
Yeah, anytime. Probably lots of times over the next couple of weeks.
I have a feeling, yeah. All right, mate. Cheers.
Bye, everyone.
That is it from me today on our little bit of Haas talk there, of course, and obviously we did do our Q&A. Apologies that we had to go into Haas talk. You can blame them for that. That's nothing to do with us, but we had fun. We did a little bit of analysis. There will be some more videos on the technical side of things over the next few weeks as cars get launched. Keep an eye out for the Williams launch tomorrow all over social media. We will be covering that in a video as well. I don't think we'll stream it. It will be a video for that one, so get that pre-recorded because we're expecting that one. Don't forget to follow me on social media. Links to Twitter, Facebook, Discord, and all of that are in the description. If you want to support the channel, you can also do so on Patreon. As I always say, donations are not mandatory, but they are massively appreciated and go a long way to helping to improve future content. I really do appreciate it. But yeah, I will be back tomorrow with a video. We'll be back with a live stream on Sunday at 7 p.m. UK time. We are going an hour later, where at the moment I'll be joined by Jonty and Alex Zaffro for our what's probably going to be Williams talk, to be honest, on that one. But yeah, so I'll be back tomorrow. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean. This has been the F1 Word. And until next time, goodbye.